Deemed, rehabilitated, and real entertaining. This is the Carl Jackson Podcast.
All right, welcome to this Monday edition of the Carl Jackson Show podcast. This is your daily dose of objective truth in a world of confusion and lies. Man, we have got so much to talk about, at least so many headlines that I want to go through that it's not even funny. But there's a story that stood out to me over the weekend, and I want to get into this because I do believe that this type of stuff can happen in the United States of America. It's no longer far-fetched stuff that we thought might be conspiracy theories, stuff that we thought might be far off in the past is creeping into America with the left going so crazy out here. Anyway, I saw the story on Revolver News, and it says South Africa plans to limit water for white people by enacting race quotas. Folks, I'm here to tell you that this is going to happen inside of the United States of America, at least in our blue cities. If you're living in our blue cities, under the Democratic regime, any Democrat for that matter, in a blue city, I think that this could happen to you, perhaps in a blue state as well. So anyway, we'll get into this a little bit. Obviously, you heard the news of the crashing of that plane, that Cessna plane, the granddaughter of some Trump supporters or donors on that plane. All types of news to get to. Absolutely insane. This is a Carl Jackson Show. We're going to take a quick break for some quick program messaging. I can't even get it out today, and then we'll be right back because I get those stories and a few more. James Comey, who says the disgraced former FBI director, that says it has to be Biden in 2024. We've got video of that, and I want to react to it. We've got several video pieces of him and his interview with Jen Psaki, the former White House press secretary under Biden. I want to react to some of that video, so stay tuned for that. We'll be right back after this quick program messaging. All right, welcome back here. Listen, guys, today's show is brought to you in part by Birch Gold. Former President Trump recently issued a warning from Mar-a-Lago. Here's what he had to say. Our currency is crashing and will soon no longer be the world standard, which will be our greatest defeat, frankly, in 200 years. He's right about that, guys. He is absolutely right about that. Some experts believe there are serious threats to the future value of the U.S. dollar because of inflation, our deficit spending, and our increasing national debt. We're going to be spending another $4 trillion over the next couple of years, thanks to both the Democrat Party and the Republican Party. One asset, however, that has withstood famine, wars, and economic craziness dating back all the way to biblical times is gold, and you can own it in a tax shelter retirement account with the help of Birch Gold. Birch Gold will help you convert an IRA or 401k, maybe from a previous employer, into an IRA that's in gold. And the best part is you don't have to pay a penny out of pocket. All you have to do is text my name, Carl, to 989898. Claim your free info kit on gold. Think about this. In March of this year, when the banks faltered, the stock market faltered, gold stood strong. Gold surged, as a matter of fact. Birch Gold can help you find out how to protect your savings with gold. Birch Gold has an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau and thousands of happy customers. All you have to do is text my name, Carl, to 989898 to get your free info kit on gold today. Okay. So before I go to this video, or Gabe goes to the video with James Comey, this communist, let me just offer some news today, some things that were in the headlines. The RNC has set rules for the RNC debate beginning in August. The first thing that you would want to know is the date of the debate. So this is this is going to be fun. This is the season that political junkies like myself absolutely love. So August 23rd will be the first GOP debate. That will be on Fox News, on the Fox News channel. There will be a possible second debate that will occur on August 24th. I got to say this, and I'll just be straight up. You guys have heard me say, I believe in sharpening iron. I want Trump to be challenged by DeSantis to get stronger. Vice versa. With DeSantis, I think it only makes him stronger. I'd like to see the Vivek Ramaswamis. I like to see the Larry Elders. I don't want to see too many more people than that. I know Tim Scott is going on The View today, or has already appeared on The View. from what was reported over the weekend. I never watched The View. I wouldn't even bother to watch it, frankly, with Tim Scott on it. So we'll check out some clips. Perhaps there'll be some goodies to share with you tomorrow regarding Senator Tim Scott visiting The View. But you have two debates, one again on August 23rd. A possible second debate that'll be on August 24th. I'm hoping that debate doesn't come to fruition. Here's what I don't want. I don't want 10,000 people in the race that simply do not have a chance. I don't believe the national polls. I think they're an absolute joke right now. However, they are a snapshot of where the political base is, I think, at this point in time. Now, there's a lot of people that simply don't pay attention to politics as frequently as you and I do. They're not the daily junkies that you and I are. So they're not worried about politics right now. So that's why I'm like, And the polls weren't so great in 2022. They were completely off, even the best of the best. So I just don't put a lot of stock in polls right now. After the 2024 election, we can start looking at stocks polls. What I'm saying, stocks, polls. What the heck am I saying? Polls. And I just don't put a lot of stock in polls. That's what I was trying to say. So I don't put a lot of stock in the polls right now. However, we know right off the bat that Donald Trump has a base of 30%. I mean, we know that, right? I'm not sure how strong DeSantis's base is, what that number might be. Again, I don't buy into the national polls right now. They're just way too far off. But having said that, I don't want a gang of people in this race. I don't want this race to be drawn out forever. When we start rounding out to these primaries, if people aren't gaining traction, they need to be dropping out. It makes no sense. It would make no sense for them to stay in at that point in time, because I do believe the sooner that we can coalesce behind an individual, the better. And the sooner the better, so that we can start fighting for our candidate in 2024. And I'm hoping the candidate will be Trump, and my second choice would be Ron DeSantis. I'm not mad at the guy. So my hope is that we don't draw this puppy out forever and ever and ever. I think it'll only hurt us. All right. So now here's another thing. The candidates will have to obviously pledge to support the GOP nominee. That makes sense. They're going to need 40,000 national donors with at least 200 unique donors per state, I believe, from at least 20 states, I believe is what it is. In most polls, they're going to have to average above, they're going to have to poll above 1% in at least 3 national polls, or 2 national polls and a state poll. I don't know why they didn't just say 2 national polls and a state poll, or start there. But anyway, the low bar is 2 national polls and a state poll. They have to consistently, I don't know what consistently means. I don't know if that means weeks, months. I don't know. But they have to consistently poll in at least 3 national polls. They have to poll above 1%. All right. Or 2 national polls in one state, and 1 state poll. So 40,000 unique donors. I've already told you that. 200 unique donors per state. All right, so that's what you're going to have to get in order to get on the stage. So a lot of these people that have been in politics forever are going to get there. The question is, will they stay in? I don't think there's an appetite for Mike Pence. He's announcing this week. I don't think there's an appetite for Chris Christie. He's announcing this week. And I got to be honest with you, I'm really skeptical of Chris Christie. I know the reports are that he's just kind of getting into, maybe he thinks he can win, but the reports are he's getting in to just kind of be a thorn on Trump's side. And I'm even skeptical on that. I mean, if people know that's the only reason you're getting in, will they really support you? Or is he just trying to build his name recognition? Because quite frankly, people have forgotten about Chris Christie, and probably eagerly so. All right, here's another headline that I want to talk about real quick, and then we'll get to this video. James Comey. Actually, we have 3 video of James Comey that I'd like to get to, but now my laptop is freezing, and of course it would. Of course it would. Why wouldn't it freeze when you're trying to do the podcast? It only would make sense to freeze while you're actually trying to do a podcast. Actually, I do write a lot of notes down, but sometimes when my writing gets too lengthy, I resort to going back to my laptop and hoping that my internet or my laptop doesn't freeze. Okay, so here we are. If I can get the thing to move. Okay, I thought this was very fascinating, and you will too. You will too. And this to me, I don't want to be hyperbolic in saying this, but I'm so frustrated with the CDC and how they worked in tangent with these teachers unions. These people destroyed our children's lives. They lied to us when it came to the jab, when it came to the Wuhan virus and its effects. It was all about control. But this is from the New York Post, I believe. There's text messages that prove the CDC worked with the teachers union to shut down your schools. Now, I'm going to tell you why this is important, because I'm going to be sharing a story with you that's occurring out of South Africa. And if you don't think that the left is an authoritarian party, you've got another thing coming. These people will absolutely destroy your lives, and it's going to get worse, because now that we're finding out about them, now that we're finding out who the left really is, they're going to double down. We honestly, one of the best things about Trump's presidency, or the best thing about Trump's presidency, in my opinion, is that he exposed the left. He forced them to admit who they were. So that was one of the biggest things for me about Trump's presidency. All right, so now here it is. Here's the story. It's from the Washington Post, or here's a summary. Excuse me. The American Federation of Teachers President Randy Weingarten voiced concern to the CDC Director Rochelle Walensky about the language of the federal agency's February 2021 school opening guidance a day before it was made public. All right, so now we knew about this. If you're a conservative, we kind of knew about this, right? We didn't know that there was a text per se, but we knew that the teachers union were flexing their muscles, let's say, when it came to some of the COVID lockdowns, and all of that kind of stuff, all the things related COVID. We knew the teachers union, because the Democrat Party wants that money and it wants their support. We knew the teachers union were flexing their muscles, but this proves just how despicable and evil Randy Weingarten is, as well as Rochelle Walensky. So again, Randy Weingarten, the teachers president union, voiced her concern to the CDC director at the time, Rochelle Walensky, about the language of the federal agency's February 2021 school opening guidance. And it was a day before it was made public. This, according to newly reported texts that shed light on their friendly relationship. The text messages showing the chummy exchange between Weingarten and Walensky were obtained by the Fairfax County Parents Association through a FOIA request with the CDC. The text chain seemed to show Walensky caving to pressure applied by Weingarten to keep schools shuttered in February of 2021, keep them closed, and then thanking Weingarten, whom she refers to as her quote-unquote friend, after the union released a statement praising the health agency. So the teachers union was telling the health agency, known as the CDC, what they should do as far as medical guidance is concerned. Did you get that? The teachers union was doing that, destroying your kids' lives. The teachers union, because they wanted to get paid and they wanted to stay home and they were fearful of the virus. So they wanted to stay home and get paid. And even when they weren't fearful of the virus any longer, they wanted to stay home and get paid. Absolutely astonishing. In my opinion, these people, there needs to be an account for this. I don't say this lightly. There should be repentance when it comes to COVID-19. There needs to be some repentance. All of those that were involved, all of those that scammed us, that have caused the death of God knows how many people, they need to be held accountable. They need to go to jail. They need to get fitted for an orange jumpsuit. I say that with all sincerity. All right, James Comey. Actually, I'll jump back to this story. Here's another story that's really troubling. Things are about to get worse in the United States, and what I hate is there's not going to be any remedy while Joe Biden is in office. There isn't going to be any remedy. And here's the other story that I want to bring to your attention. OPEC is going to reduce their oil output by another 1 million barrels per day. That's going to be disastrous for us. All right. We went from energy independence. Listen to me. 2.5 years ago, we were energy independent under Trump's administration. Just over 2.5 years ago at this point. Energy independent. We went from being energy independent to completely dependent on on nations that do not like us. And there's no intention. The Biden administration and the Democrat Party, they have no intention on being energy independent again. Their goal is to switch to EVs, the dirty EVs that destroy the planet, where they're not as economical. The batteries, again, are dirty. You can't find any place to store the batteries. They're so unclean. There's child labor involved. It's child slave labor, I should say, that's involved. Toxic chemicals that are involved. This is absolutely insane. And now the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, known as OPEC, is saying, you know what? We're going to reduce the supply by another $1 million per day, which means that they're going to make a buttload of money selling less oil, but it means we're going to have to pay a buttload more money, right? It's insane. And Biden has put us in this position, and he has done so intentionally. That's what you need to know. The left wants to make your life absolutely miserable. They want you to move into electric vehicles. So ultimately, you'll move out of those electrical vehicles because you'll get tired of those, charging them shutting down. They'll be able to control you from a grid with those electrical vehicles, tell you when and when you should not drive if you'll buy into their left-wing nonsense. And eventually, you'll just say, screw it, let's move to mass transportation. That's their goal. Their goal is to be able to make all of the United States like New York City. That's their goal. That's what they want to do. I used to talk about this stuff nearly a decade ago, just thinking we wouldn't come this far. And here we are. Here we are. It's just astonishing, and it's maddening, absolutely maddening to me. So that is a very big story. Prices are going to go up and it's the summer season already. So prices are going to go up. You guys heard about this story, obviously, of that Cessna airplane crash that occurred yesterday. Barbara Rumpel and John Rumpel, they're apparently mega donors to former President Donald Trump. They donated a buttload of money, I think $250,000 to one of his PACs. They donated individually the maximum amount that they could individually as well. To his 2020 campaign. Can't remember whether or not it was the 2016 campaign as well. But sadly, their daughter, granddaughter, and the nanny were in a plane, Cessna plane that was owned by their company. They own a company somewhere here in Florida, I believe, that makes motors of some sort. And so that, if I recall correctly, I don't have the story right in front of me. But anyway, if I recall that correctly. So anyway, they are mega donors, if you will, to Trump. And sadly, they lost their daughter and their granddaughter. F-16s were scrambled yesterday to catch up with the plane. And once they did, people heard a large sonic boom in Washington, D.C. Once they caught up with the plane, they were able to verify that the pilot of the plane was passed out. That plane, from what I understand, was flying at about 500 at the speed of about 500 miles per hour. So the plane ended up crashing. They found the debris. Obviously, there's no survivors in a situation like that, but just a horrible story. I'm glad, however, it wasn't a story of the White House being attacked. So just a horrible story. Now this. Let me share this story real quick, because it is, I believe this is where we're coming down to. And this is a really nerve-wracking story, or a headline that caught my attention over the weekend. And I want to make sure that I do talk about it and mention it. And that is this news that South Africa plans to limit water for white people by enacting race quotas. In other words, they're going to ration water. They want to. The blacks in South Africa are upset about apartheid. That ended in, I believe, in 1994. In 1994. In South Africa, and they want retribution. They want their own revenge. Already, what they've done is they've seized the farms of whites in South Africa. Well, now they're weaponizing water. They're going to use it as a tool of hatred and division against whites, and they're introducing race quotas to the farmers out there. It's absolutely insane. Now, for some of you that are evil and are as racist and bigoted as this people, you don't fix racism with more racism. It simply doesn't happen that way. But not only that, you have a lot of people that are having their farms confiscated, whites out there that have been tortured and raped, some of the women and stuff like that. They take over these farms, and the people that take over them don't even know how to utilize the farms correctly. You have farms that have been in people's lives and in their families for decades, for generations, perhaps. All of a sudden, you have people taking it over that don't have the skills to produce mass food quantities, and then all of a sudden, you get South Africa turning into a complete crap hole, and that's exactly what's happening. But now they're going even further. They are literally dictating that whites are going to have to, they're going to be rationing water to whites. Now, this hasn't passed, but it is looking like it is going to pass. But here's a close-up of some of the legislation. I'm reading out of, what is this? Apparently, this is, I don't know what chapter this is, but this is maybe chapter 4, section 5, I suppose. Any supporting documentation to a water use license application which contains disclaimers, which removes liability and or responsibility from the applicant will not be considered. I want you to understand what's being said there. Any supporting documentation to a water use license application which contains disclaimers which removes liability, let me just add these words, from white people, and or responsibility from white people will not be considered. In Chapter 5 of this law, consideration of a decision for water use license applicants to promote equity and redressing past racial and gender discrimination. Man, this is happening in South Africa. Can I read that part over again? Thanks. Appreciate that. Consideration of a decision for water use license applications to promote equity and redressing past racial and gender discrimination. That language sounds exactly like the language the Democrat Party uses today. Isn't that odd? This section prescribes requirements and procedures for achieving equity and redressing past racial and gender imbalances as contemplated in Section 27(1)(b) and Section 45(2)(c) of the Act. The responsible authority shall give preference to applications from Black people, followed by women. All applications for consumptive water use, Section 21(a), (b), and D, submitted to the department are expected to satisfactorily address Section 27(1)(b) of the Act. Specifically, the enterprise in respect of the application must allocate shares to Black people in the proportions stipulated in Table 1. I mean, this stuff is absolutely fascinating. Applications from mining and related industries regulated by means of the MPRDA, state and state-owned entities, 100% Black-owned are exempted to comply with sub-regulations. So if you're a Black-owned business, farm, you don't have to comply with the regulations. The responsible authority may, subject to availability of resources, support Black people with water use license applications in line with Section 61 of the Act before a final decision is reached on their licensing. A responsible authority shall issue a notice in a form of a gazette requiring persons to apply for a water use license within 60 days in terms of Section 43 of the Act. Anyway, you get the message. They've put it in legalese, but the bottom line is a lot of people are outraged over this in South Africa, as well they should be. The nation continues to grapple with race quotas. That's the way that they want to deal with past discriminations, but they're only doing it. They're only going to be hurting themselves. Last month, the ruling African National Congress government published a draft regulations that would implement race quotas for the allocation of water use, and they look to be putting that into practice. The proposal requires all applicants for consumptive water use where water is removed from available supplies without return to resource system to allocate shares to Black people based on the size of their land. Business owners wanting more water usage would need to have a higher share of Black ownership. So if you're running a farm, and you happen to be a white farm owner that still exists in South Africa, you're basically going to have to turn over your land to a Black person in order to get water. which means farming is going to suck even more so in South Africa. And it also means that water quality is going to get worse out there. There's no doubt about it. You're going to be dealing with a lot of people that absolutely don't know what the heck they're dealing with. But guys, this is coming to a blue city near you. This is coming to a blue state near you. South Africa rationing water for white people. Don't think it won't happen right here in the United States. Now, having said that, I want to play these clips of the disgraced former FBI director, James Comey, who still tries to act high and mighty and self-righteous. He should be rocking a jumpsuit on his 6'8" frame. I think the guy is tall as heck. I believe he's 6'8", but he should be rocking a jumpsuit right now. But he's free and he's talking to Psaki. Here's what he has to say to former White House press secretary, now turned TV host, Jen Psaki, on her MSNBC show over the weekend.
You were a Republican most of your life, but voted for, and you may still consider yourself one, but voted for Biden in 2020. Do you intend to vote for him again, or is there anyone on the Republican side you might consider if it's not Trump?
It has to be Joe Biden. And I'm glad he's willing to serve. It has to be somebody committed to the rule of law, committed to the values of this country. And I'm not talking about policy. People can disagree about policy. There are things above those disagreements that all of us should think about the same way. The president must be someone who abides the law and our Constitution. And there's no one else but Joe Biden.
I mean, this is insane. There's nobody but Joe Biden. Of course, James Comey, the guy that participated and helped to cultivate the Russia collusion hoax that set up General Michael Flynn. Of course, this liar, this corrupt, disgraced former FBI director would say exactly that. Why must it be Biden? Here's why he wants it to be Biden, because he knows, and we all know, quite frankly, as a matter of fact, House Oversight Committee James Comer is trying to get into these memos that tell us which country Biden was accepting bribes for in return for American policies favoring their country, upwards of $5 million given to the Biden crime family. And you can bet your bottom dollar that James Comer knew about this. This guy destroyed the election season for both Democrats and Republicans in 2016, and he is corrupt as all get out. So the reason why he wants it to be Biden is because he knows that there's leverage against Biden. He's corrupt. Biden is corrupt. So therefore, if it is Biden, neither one of them respected the rule of law. So he's out of the woods. He's out of trouble. That is all he is concerned about. He's trying to act all high and mighty and self-righteous here. He's nothing but a disgraced, corrupt, former FBI director. He was a failure. Both the Democrats and Republicans couldn't stand this fool at the end of his tenure. And now he sits out and he tweets as if he's all righteous and holy. Man, screw you, punk. I mean, what a buster. This fool deserves to be in jail. I can't stand him. A liar. Nothing but a liar. All right. Anyway, let's roll with the next clip, please, Gabe.
You said that Trump poses a near existential threat to the rule of law. And this is something, similar language that I hear privately from national security officials, some people you and I both know, who will say this privately about what a second term could mean. But tell me a little bit about the specifics of what he could try to do. What do you mean by that?
Well, think about what 4 years of a retribution presidency might look like. He could order the investigation and prosecution.
Can you pause the tape? I just got to say this about Jen Psaki. Isn't it amazing how she just seems to be setting him up? Pitching him some softballs. She's supposed to be a fair and balanced journalist at this point. Pitching him some softballs so that he can explain why the Democrats should be put in power. I just want you to notice that. She's a fake journalist. All right, maybe it's called the inside interview. Maybe she's not pretending to be a journalist. I don't know. I haven't watched the show. So maybe that's her modus operandi. Maybe she's just offering commentary. But her questions are absolutely fascinating to me because this guy doesn't have to answer for anything. She now knows, we all now know about the Russia collusion hoax. She didn't ask about that. All right, let's go ahead and roll the tape, please, Gabe.
Of individuals who he sees as enemies. I'm sure I'm on the enemies list. because the president constitutionally does oversee the executive branch entirely, which includes the Department of Justice, prosecutors and investigators. And so he could direct that individuals be pursued. He could also direct all kinds of other conduct that people would maybe take to court to try to stop. But who enforces court orders? Mm-hmm. Mostly the United States Marshals Service, which is in part of the executive branch and reports to the president. And so President Trump could say, I don't care what the Supreme Court says or these district judges say. I'm telling the Marshals Service, don't enforce the court order. And so our Constitution really does give a rogue president, which is what this would be, tremendous power to destroy. And so that's why I'm trying to warn people. Given the way he said he intends to operate if he's reelected, this will be something we could never have imagined. Again, it seems like science fiction in a way, but it's what another 4 years of Donald Trump really promises, which is why people criticize CNN for their town hall. I want the American people to stare at the threat that we're facing and understand that they cannot take the next election off.
This is fascinating. No word about Joe Biden, President Joe Biden, in name only. The Pino president in name only. No word about him using the DOJ in order to get his way, threatening parents and school boards, using the DOJ for that. Using the DOJ in as far as prosecuting J6 protesters to the degree of which they should not have been. It's absolutely insane. The intimidation factor that this Biden administration has been using against the right has been absolutely insane through the DOJ with Merrick Garland. And yet we hear crickets. People that were literally vandalizing abortion clinics, nothing. But they go over they go after Mark Houck in his house when he's got seven children and his wife sitting there. They go after him with guns. No persecution of BLM protesters and Antifa, actually rioters that literally burned buildings down and tore down cities during the George Floyd riots of 2020. I mean, hardly any of that, but they go after the right with ease. Did anybody have a problem with the rule of law when Trump was in? Obviously they didn't. I mean, this is completely asinine. This is a guy that is completely concerned about his own butt, and he's willing to cover for Joe Biden so that he will continue to get cover from Joe Biden. It's as simple as that, man. This man is an absolute disgrace. I have no respect for this guy whatsoever. Let's play the last clip here, Gabe, and then we'll wrap this up.
You've said that the Mar-a-Lago documents case is the strongest against Trump. And there's new reporting. Prosecutors have a recording from 2021 in which Trump acknowledged he knowingly retained documents that he knew were classified. If you were prosecuting him, or just given your experience, how would you use that evidence to help the case? How much does it help a case like that?
Yeah, I once said without planning it, Lordy, I hope there are tapes.
Yeah, exactly. Not about this case, but yes, no, it's very applicable.
I know, and I've heard that 1,000 times since. But tapes are amazing for a prosecutor because you can't cross-examine a tape. You can't call a tape a liar, a deep state operative. A tape is you saying what you think, which is why they're so valuable in an organized crime case, and they'll be so valuable and important to Jack Smith in this documents case. I don't know where the case will end up, but it makes it immeasurably stronger to have the subject of the investigation saying in a way that can't be impeached, no pun intended with Trump, can't be criticized and undermined because it's coming from his own mouth. That's why I once said, Lordy, I hope there are tapes. And Lordy, it's a good thing that there are tapes.
Turns out it's an evergreen statement.
Yes, it never goes away.
Many of these cases.
So here's what James Comey is hoping. James Comey is hoping that most of the people watching this interview are complete and utter idiots, because the person that gets to determine what's classified and not classified is the president of the United States. He is the commander-in-chief. He is the commander-in-chief. So he gets to determine that. And then you have the National Archive people that help box all of this material up when Trump was leaving, when he left the White House to Mar-a-Lago. They're the ones that helped box it up. They were having negotiations just like they'd had it with Barack Obama, just like they had it with President Richard Nixon and George W. Bush over, decades, over decades, literally. And none of these guys were brought up on charges. This is a fake scandal. We all know that it's a fake scandal. They've already said Mike Pence, nothing to see here. He won't be prosecuted. There was, he didn't know what was there, so on, etc. This is insane. Vice President Mike Pence shouldn't have had classified material at his place. Biden at the time shouldn't have classified material at his place. And now, given what we know about the corrupt Biden crime family, it's we now understand that Biden started using his position as VP in order to monetize the Biden crime family, getting his son a job, hooked up with Burisma, Ukraine, on the board. All this kind of stuff that they were doing. This is absolutely insane. This guy is a joke. And what's so frustrating to me is Jen Psaki knows this, because she knows the evidence that is coming out now. And there's crickets, nothing about it. So you guys should be offended based upon this interview, because all they're doing is pressing left-wing narratives when the truth has already come out. This is maddening. I tell you, one of the biggest things for me coming up in 2024, I think, listen, I know a lot of people don't like DeSantis. I absolutely love DeSantis. People can find fault with the guy. I think he's an excellent, governor. I think he'll be excellent with legislation. I look at Trump and I love Trump's foreign policy. He was just absolutely amazing. But I also look at what's happened to Trump and just how unjust it is, or it's injustice personified. And I think there needs to be a reckoning. And I got to tell you, that's part of my that's part of the reason why I've continued to support Trump over the years, because there's got to be a reckoning. And I understand that's not necessarily the best policy agreement. I think he'll do great things, obviously, were he to get in office. But there's got to be a reckoning for this, for this wrongful, for this illegal behavior. These guys have got to pay a price, or the rule of law as we know it simply will not stand. And quite frankly, I think everybody on stage should be looking to amputate the FBI and looking to hold these people accountable. I'm not saying that DeSantis won't do it. I don't know, but I think he needs to say it. I like him in all other facets, but I think he absolutely needs to say it. But I think that not just Trump, but I think our system deserves justice. These people absolutely lied to us, and they continue to attack this guy and Donald Trump. And they're not just attacking him; they're using him. They're using him so that they could attack us. Right? If we're all focused on, it's just Donald Trump, it's something he did that's bad, which the stuff that he did, frankly, is laughable and shouldn't even be in court half the time, it seems to me. But the goal is to keep the left and maybe independents focused on Donald Trump. And meanwhile, they don't realize how the left is totally abusing the system, our judicial system. It's insane to me. There's got to be a reckoning. Anyway, guys, listen, I appreciate you tuning in to this edition of the Carl Jackson Show podcast. Please be sure to subscribe to the podcast. Oh, by the way, don't forget my sponsors, My Pillow. For God's sakes, Gabe, I can't believe you almost let me get away with that. Buy one, get one free offer at My Pillow is still going on for the new My Pillow temperature regulating thread. Now on the outer layer of the pillow now makes it softer, smoother, and cooler. It still has the original adjustable feel on the inside of the pillow, but it's buy one, get one free. All you have to do is go to mypillow.com, click on the radio listener square at the top of the page and enter my name, Carl, or give them a call, 800-858-0263, 800-858-0263, mypillow.com. American jobs, American products, American manufacturing, and American Patriot in Mike Lindell. Please support that company. That's what we need to do. We need to find alternatives. If you're walking away from Target like I am, You're walking away from some of these woke companies. We need to run to the companies that are providing good products, 10-year warranty, 60-day money-back guarantee, that are providing products that we need, people that don't hate us. Mike Lindell is one of those people and one of those companies at mypillow.com. Guys, I appreciate you tuning in. Subscribe to my podcast wherever you go to get your podcast, Apple, Google, Spotify, YouTube, Rumble. Please subscribe on YouTube and Rumble. We really want to grow our presence there. Also follow me on all things social media, The Carl Jackson Show. We're on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, True Social Getter, at The Carl Jackson Show is where you can find me. And until next time, don't grow weary doing good. God bless you.